Hi guys, welcome back. So today we're going to continue our FAQs of GMAT. We started this last week, and a lot of you have sent us your queries that you want us to handle in this series. So rest assured, do not worry. We have already put them in our FAQs master file, and we will take them up eventually, perhaps in our next webinar or maybe next two webinars. Yeah, we're going to continue this series till the time you are absolutely comfortable, until the time you know everything that there is to know about GMAT, until the time you are satisfied with it. So don't worry about it. Last time we discussed some basic questions on GMAT, and we discussed how to prepare for critical reasoning. Today we are going to continue. Today we'll discuss RC, which I'm sure a lot of you hate, absolutely. But then, there is really no reason to. We'll talk about that. And so then we'll talk about DI, the various question types, and what can you do, how can you manage time, etc., things that you can take care of, etc. And then, time permitting, we'll talk about quant. Which topics should you focus on? Specific to GMAT focus. What are they asking more? What are they focusing on, etc. What about India? I will also take the topics that are getting tested in DS, etc. So we'll take a look at all of those things. Okay. So let me share my screen and let's start today's webinar. So now, one important thing when I say that you should not make errors in easy questions, is that there shouldn't be any careless mistakes. Yeah. So over here, I have a careless mistakes checklist. So we'll just go through that. When you are doing a question in quant, especially, you should be on the lookout for these kind of careless mistakes. Because if you make one of these, look, GMAT is very unforgiving to careless mistakes. Yeah, it will forgive you in case you don't know a concept, or the application of a certain concept, a hard question. But if you make a careless mistake in a simple question, then it is really going to penalize you. So we need to be very, very comfortable and be very, very careful about not making these careless mistakes. So, okay, there's something going on and I don't know why. Yeah. So first of all, now that it is working, I might as well get all of them and then discuss them one by one. So use the correct data. Yeah. One big issue. Okay, so 5 was given over there. I just took it as 15 and then I solved the whole question and I got the wrong answer. Really, really sad. Yeah. So if you are going to write down something, look, as we discussed in ANA prep, we discussed more visual approaches. Yeah. So we don't really write down stuff. We don't really make questions. We don't really solve questions like that, right? But if you are going to write down something, if you are going to copy data, you've copied it, just ensure once more. Yeah. It will take you what second, but just ensure once more. Okay, this is what was given. This is what I've taken down. Yeah, just a matter of a second. Then answer what was asked. So once you've got your answer, yeah, before you put it down, the radio button, just go once up and ensure you read the last sentence, because the last sentence of the question is going to have the question, right? The question sent. What is the so and so? Okay, what I have found, is it what was asked? Just it'll take like again another 2 to 3 seconds, doesn't matter. As I said, you have enough time in quant. If you are anyway following ANA prep methods, then you will have a good 10 minutes at the end of it. If you're following those visualizations, you will have enough, plenty of time. You can certainly afford to put a few extra seconds each question. Yeah. So just ensure that you have answered exactly what was asked. Then address the whole number line. This is an important one. Like, when, for example, and this is something that we used to do in Veritas Prep, something we used to discuss in Veritas Prep, that, okay, for example, in a class, that, okay, if I ask you to, pick up a number between 1 to 10, for example, what are you going to pick up? And then we would ask everyone, okay, someone would say 3, someone would say 5, someone would say 8. But then very, very rarely would I get let's say a 2.7. Yeah, people, numbers between 1 to 10, people would invariably take them to be integers. Yeah. Then, for example, if I would say, okay, square of a number is 25, and what is the number? Invariably, people would shout out 5. Yeah. Invariably, they'll take the positive square root. They wouldn't take the negative square, right? They wouldn't answer 5 or -5. Yeah. So what this tells us is that we do not intuitively, we do not have the whole number line on our mind. Intuitively, we only think about positive integers. And that is when we end up making a lot of mistakes in GMAT as well. So when I say address the whole number line, it means that all the numbers, wherever I say X, for example, if it is not given to me that it's a positive integer, I have to think of 4 different sections, yeah? From minus infinity to -1, then from -1 to 0, then from 0 to 1, and then from 1 to infinity. I have to think of all 4 of these sections. There are numbers in each one of these sections, and I have to ensure that when I am giving the answer, I have taken each one into account. Yeah. And of course, your -1, 0, and 1 are special numbers, so ensure that you've taken those into account as well, right? And we've discussed this in the module also, but let me just say once, quickly remind you that numbers which are from 1 to infinity, they are very similar to the behavior of the numbers between -1 and 0. And numbers between 0 and 1, they behave very similarly to the numbers which are less than -1. And the behavior is not exactly the same, because, for example, when you talk about squares, etc., right? So the behavior is not exact, but it is very similar in a lot of circumstances. So you should keep that in mind as well. Yeah. So that's about addressing the whole number line. Then real life relevancy. So what I mean by that is, yeah, we do have 5-10 minutes, so we'll finish this today. Real life relevancy means that in GMAT, the data given to you is going to be relevant, real life relevant. So for example, you're talking about buying apples and oranges, and in case your answer comes out to be like $1,000 for one apple, you know that there is something. Yeah. GMAT will not make an equation. It will not give you data which will make the price of an apple $1,000. Yeah, it doesn't work out. It does give you real life scenarios, right? There are those pure math scenarios and there are those real life scenarios. So then when it is giving you real life scenarios, it will give you real life kind of data. So then again, it will help you minimize your careless mistake. You need to remember this, that in case you are getting an answer which seems to be absurd in real life, please go back and check. Yeah. Okay. Another thing, confirm using estimation. Now we've discussed estimation. We have discussed in the video also, we discussed exactly how to estimate. Then, there are a lot of other ways as well, right? We have discussed, like, for example, if I'm multiplying two numbers, then, the units digit should be this. I can just see that. I don't have to multiply the numbers to see that. Then, for example, I can estimate the value of the product. For example, if I'm saying, okay, 25, into 31, for example, I say, okay, so it has to be more than 20 into 30 and it has to be less than 30 into 30, right? Those things I can see immediately. I don't have to calculate for that. Those are really intuitive. Yeah. So when I get the answer, for example, if I've done a calculation, when I get the answer, just confirm once using your intuitive estimation skill that this is what I was expecting as well. And this does make sense. Yeah. Okay, now verify range obtained in equations and inequalities. So for example, when you're solving algebra, when you're solving equation inequalities, for example, or you've solved an equation, you've got the value of either you've got a range or you've got a particular value. If you're not very short on time, look, if it's an equation and you've got the answer, if you're not short on time, plug in to see that it works, great. If you are short on time, it's okay. If you don't plug in, also doesn't matter. But if you've got a range, inequalities are a little more complicated. It is a good idea to at least plug in 1 or 2 values to see that it works. An easy value. Yeah? Pick up 0, for example. If it is in your range, quickly pick up 0. See, does it work? If it doesn't, that means you've got the wrong range. Or, for example, 0 is not in your range. You plug in 0. Is it coming, is it valid? That means you missed something. Yeah, it needs to be in your range, right? So check for 0, check for 1, -1, whatever is the simplest. Yeah. Check for a few values that you've got very quickly, and take the simplest values to ensure that you've got the right range, to ensure that you're not making a careless mistake. Yeah. And mental calculations to confirm, again, as we discussed, it's essentially about estimation, that ensure that this into this is, I expected the answer to be less than this. So is it? Yes, great. So then it is fine. Yeah, then chances of making an error are minimized in that particular case. Right? So then these are the various ways in which you can ensure that you do not make careless mistakes. Now, start integrating these in your regular practice. Yeah, even when you're doing it untimed, then when you start doing it timed, doesn't matter. In your regular practice, you should integrate all these little things, yeah, so that they go on automatically in your mind. You don't have to think about the checklist. Hey, have I done this? Have I done this? Because you won't have time for that at all. Yeah. But make it a habit automatically. If I've put down some data, then I've checked once again. Yeah, it matches. Before I'm answering, I've checked, well, okay, this is what was asked. Yeah. Um, you know, Once you internalize it, it'll take absolutely no time. But please understand that this is a mistake that anybody can make, especially answering something else. What was not, like, for example, there's a relation between X, Y, Z given to me. And for example, if the value of Z is asked, okay, it's possible. But then I may start with just taking X, and I may want to put everything in relation to X, Y, because that was the most convenient. Yeah. So that is why I will do my calculation based on what is most convenient, obviously. Now, it's intuitive for us. The moment we've got X, we would say, okay, this is the answer. But guys, this is something even I will make the mistake, yeah, if I don't double check. I'm also in the habit of ensuring that I double check that before I put in the value of this, because I am going to, pick up the variable which is the most convenient for my calculations, not the one that is not essentially every time the one that is asked. It is a good idea to always keep that variable which for which the value has been asked, because that is what you get at the end, and then that is what is your answer. So great. But that will not always be the most convenient variable to work with, right? So then, and we don't like to do too many calculations, we don't like to put down our pen to paper, etc. So then we really do look for convenience, but then that also means that the chances of making an error or careless mistake are higher. So then we have to ensure that we get this sorted by ensuring that every time we answer, we just take a look at the last sentence once again. Okay, this is what was asked and this is what I'm answering, right? So integrate these, this checklist into your everyday routine of solving questions and practicing. And then, in the actual test, you really will not make any careless mistakes. Yeah. Because those hurt the most, right? Where you knew you could do it and still you could not. So those hurt the most, right? Okay, so I think, that is it for today. We have a couple of minutes. In case you guys have any questions, please feel free to